Okay, no, Madam Chair, I think you laid out the rules just fine. If you'd like to proceed with the first appeal, I believe we're ready.
Okay, I thought you said there were some preliminary matters we had to go through.
There was a tabling, but tabling request, but that applicant doesn't seem to be logged in yet. It was the case for Stockwell Drive, so hopefully they'll log in later, and when we come to that case, we can have them tabled at that time.
Okay, and did you want to make the announcement about the
In-person meetings? Yeah, Tony Celebrezzi will be making that announcement. He's a little bit tied up right now. He's going to do it after the appeals, so
Okay,
that'll be agenda item number 1.
okay, so go ahead with the appeals. I don't have the addresses.
The first one is 1350 North High Street. City Attorney Steve Dunbar is here to present on behalf of the City of Columbus.
Okay, is the homeowner also present?
Well, it's
Yes,
actually Kroger, and
Oh,
David
sorry.
Hodge is representing. There's David.
Okay,
David Hodge, attorney for Kroger.
okay, cool. Just want to make sure both parties are here. Okay, go ahead, city enforcer. I'm looking around for the tiles and I'm not seeing.
Steve, you're on mute. There you go.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
This is Steve Dunbar, work in the city attorney's office. This is a case where David and some folks in his office reached out to us a little while ago to see if this matter could be resolved short of appeal. I think, yes, it can, but we need just a little bit more time to touch a couple more bases. So what we are here today for is to jointly ask for a 60-day-ish tabling. We fully expect to have a resolution well short.
okay. We don't issue ish tabling, so is 60 days sufficient or do you need 90?
60 works. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, okay. No opposition to that, Mr. Hodge?
No, ma'am, we agree.
Okay.
I'll move the table for 60 days.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
All right. Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, your continuance is granted.
Thank you.
Next one, Jamie.
The next one is the second appeal. The address is on Edinburgh Avenue, and I believe the code enforcement officers are here. I'm not sure if the appellant is here. Let me bring that case. So the address is 4735 Edinburgh Lane, and the appellant is Mary Ann Patterson.
Oh, I see somebody saying something.
Yeah, I just heard you say correct. Could you speak up a little bit, ma'am? You're kind of quiet.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm here.
Michael, did you get what number that was? Number 8, I believe.
I thought it was number 6.
Yeah, it's number 6.
Oh, 6. Okay. Great. I believe code enforcement will present first, and then we can turn it over to the appellant.
Okay.
Jeff, you guys are on mute. There you go.
Just a moment. Trying to get the screen going. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So the address, 4735 Edinburgh Lane. I'm Code Enforcement Officer Chad Gentry with the City of Columbus. Got a complaint for a commercial vehicle parked in a residential property. Inspected the location and observed a decommissioned ambulance being parked here. So what we have here is a list of exhibits. Exhibit A will be a copy of the violation notice. Exhibit B will be a picture of the commercial vehicle in question. And Exhibit C is the relevant code section and the definition of a commercial vehicle. So here we have Exhibit A, which is a copy of the violation notice from my initial inspection on March 1st. Exhibit B is a picture of the decommissioned ambulance, commercial type vehicle, parked in the driveway at Edinburgh. And Exhibit C is the code section being violated, which is 331235, for parking a commercial vehicle in a residential area, and then the definition of a commercial vehicle underneath.
I'm sorry, was that the end of the presentation?
That's the end of our defense of the notice.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please do.
I didn't hear if you said you went back today and saw it still there.
The vehicle was still there on Friday last week. It's being used for their personal use. The commercial vehicle is. Thank you.
So can you go back to the definition of commercial vehicle and can you tell us which one of these things this vehicle is?
So the definition for a commercial vehicle, it's any vehicle used or designed to be used for business or commercial purposes. Because it's a decommissioned ambulance, it was always designed to be used for that purpose, and it doesn't quite fit within the realms of residential use.
So it's the city's position that an ambulance cannot be repurposed into anything for personal use.
Correct.
I mean, it can be used. This is Jeff Imhoff with Code Enforcement. I mean, if it's licensed as personal, that's fine. But as the definition says, you know, any vehicle used or designed to be used for business or commercial purposes. So whether it's being used for personal or not is irrelevant per the zoning code definition. If the original intent of that vehicle was to be used for commercial purposes, then it's considered a commercial vehicle. Whether the licensing of it, however the state of Ohio license it is kind of irrelevant in this case because it's based on what the design of the vehicle was intended for.
Based on that, Jeff, you would say that all police vehicles would be commercial vehicles then, right?
What type of vehicles?
Police vehicles.
Police?
I don't know. Is that a commercial use or a governmental use?
It's a commercial use.
Police vehicles? Okay. I always thought they were government use.
It's business.
I think that's a good, when we're parsing this, it gets into a gray area. And then I would say, you know, not that I'm citing anywhere here, but the path that Chair Palmer was going down, if somebody's repurposed this to a recreational vehicle and it's parked so far behind the setback line, those are permissible, correct?
No, commercial vehicles are not permitted to be parked on residential at all, except for short-term parking. Like if you're getting your house, you know, new siding on it, obviously commercial vehicles can be parked on there while they're doing work on your property. But basically the code prohibits like a long-term storage of commercial vehicles on the property. Because they don't want to return.
I'm saying if this was repurposed into a recreational vehicle, like a camper of sorts, that's kind of what it looks like when I see that picture of somebody's repurposing it for their personal use. If that were parked behind the setback line, the building setback line, it would be permitted as a recreational vehicle, correct?
If it was, yes, if we thought or felt it was an RV, a commercial vehicle, it can be parked on residential as long as it's behind the parking or building setback line as well as an approved parking surface and location.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're ready to hear from the homeowner in this case. And before you speak, I guess what I want to make sure that we're doing is understanding that to appeal this, you're making an assertion that the facts are not, that, I'm sorry, that what is being said about what happened is not true. And so you are appealing that there is a violation. Ma'am?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of confused here. It is
Sir, can you
behind...
introduce yourself? Give your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Rodney Patterson. The vehicle in question is parked in my wife's, obviously, property. I am the owner of the vehicle and the driver of the vehicle. I don't know what else you want. I mean, is that good?
Yes, I thought it was a woman who was speaking at first, so I think we were just thrown off that somebody else was speaking.
Oh, no, she spoke because you asked for the homeowner, so
Oh.
I'm not the homeowner, she is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so go ahead.
You're welcome.
Go ahead and explain why you feel like this is not a valid violation.
Well, I mean, from what I was just listening to, the gentleman said once it's built and licensed for a commercial vehicle, it's always a commercial vehicle. I don't really understand that train of thought because things in life change all the time. You know, yeah, I mean, it's not an ambulance. It used to be. It's not in service as an ambulance. It's not registered at the BMV as an ambulance. And the status of things change.
What are you using the vehicle? What are you using the vehicle for?
Well, I bought the vehicle to pull my race car with, which is just a hobby on weekends. And when the COVID started, my wife now works out of the house because they closed the office down. And I used to drive her car, but now she wants the car left at the house, which is understandable. So I've been driving the vehicle almost every day as a personal vehicle back and forth to work because we only have these two vehicles. But it is registered as a personal van.
It's registered with the BMV as a personal van?
Yes, it is. The title's even registered, the plates, the registration, everything is personal. Yeah, we sent 3 copies of all that information in when we got the appeal. And like I said, there's nothing in the paperwork at the BMV that even resembles wording of an ambulance anymore or a commercial vehicle anymore. Even the plates don't have that commercial wording on the bottom. I mean, the whole purpose of buying this was to pull my race car. And since we travel on weekends, we were slowly converting it over to like I don't want to say an RV, because it will never get that far along. But it's something that, you know, the wife and I and the dogs can load up on the weekend and go to the races. And if it's a 2-day show, like a Friday and Saturday night race, it gives us something, you know, obviously to sleep in or camp out in.
Have you done anything? Have you changed the vehicle in any way?
I don't know what pictures Chad took Friday when he was here, but if you notice the flashing lights on the sides of the box and the fenders have all been taken out and covered over. The light bars are still on it, but I have to take the inside apart to get to them because they're bolted from the inside out. And it also has the safety marker lights on them. So I need to run the wiring for that. So basically I started working on it, but when all this stuff started back on March, I stopped working on it because I didn't want to waste any money fixing something up that I didn't know was going to stay or not stay. But yeah, my intentions are to get back on it and finish it up the way we want it. But I don't want to do it, and I can't do it until I know that this problem is resolved.
And we have documentation that says it's registered as a van, personal van, not a commercial vehicle. Do we have that documentation?
Everything says personal van.
Does this,
even the title says it.
Does the city have that documentation?
Mr. Maleka, along with the appeal that was mailed in, yeah, there is a registration. Obviously, I don't work for the BMV, so I don't know what the codes mean, but if Jeff, if you could stop sharing, I'll share what they submitted so that the board can see. Maybe one of you guys knows what it means. Are you guys able to see this registration that was submitted by Mr. Patterson?
Yes, but I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I would assume it'd be up here, registration code class PC type R. Maybe Mr. Patterson could address what those mean, or if code enforcement knows. I personally don't know either.
I don't know what they mean. I just told them what the vehicle was going to be used for and had it put in my name, not a company name, but my personal name, and that's just what they typed in. Yeah, I don't know what the BMV codes are myself.
My experience
But I
is
do
that the BMV will categorize something as commercial based on its size or weight and or ownership, not necessarily its use. So,
Folks, PC means personal car.
there it is.
Yeah,
Van.
on the
It means-
state of Ohio.
Yes, passenger car.
Registration-
PC is passenger car. So it is not registered as commercial. It's registered as a passenger car.
I don't think they're talking to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so guys, I'm looking at my own car registration and it also says PCR. So, and I only own regular cars. So the BMV has this down as a regular personal vehicle.
Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions for the homeowner or for the city code enforcement officers?
Are they talking to me?
This is, I don't have any questions. Are we allowed to add any more, or are we done for the city in terms of adding any extra information?
You're free to add more information.
I would add, I understand the registration, as a personal vehicle, but again, the code, we're not enforcing the Ohio BMV's registration codes. We're enforcing the zoning code, and it says any vehicle that's designed to be used. If someone got a semi-tractor, semi-truck license as a personal vehicle and start parking it, would that be permissible? I don't think so. It'd still be a commercial vehicle. So our argument is that regardless of whether it is licensed as a commercial vehicle or as a personal vehicle, the style or the type of the vehicle is what dictates whether it's a commercial vehicle. And
All right, well, Jeff, I don't believe that an ambulance is a commercial vehicle. It's a governmental vehicle. And I disagree with your assessment of the law. And so personally, I'm with the appellant.
Yeah, private.
Well, there's plenty of private hospitals. I don't think that's necessarily governmental. Might have been, but most hospitals are not government organizations. They're private organizations that use the ambulance.
Right, but he's not a private hospital. He's using it for personal use. And I think your interpretation of a commercial vehicle is incorrect at this particular time. And I don't agree that this is a commercial vehicle. I think he should be allowed to park it at his house.
Yeah, I'm having trouble, Mr. Emhoff, frankly, is ruling that once a commercial vehicle, always a commercial vehicle. That's what I'm struggling with. Because we know of instances where the use is repurposed. And this seems to be an example of that. And I guess coupled with the fact that this is no larger or no more obtrusive of a vehicle than would be a recreational vehicle that would be allowed. We would not allow you're right, we would not allow a tractor trailer to sit in somebody's yard. But this doesn't feel like the same thing. But I'm open to hearing what my colleagues think about this.
I agree. As I said, like with a police vehicle, those are repurposed all the time. I don't think, I appreciate the example of a semi-tractor trailer, but again, based on weight alone, those would never be classified as a personal use, even if somebody drove it every day to commute. So I would agree that the assessment for the current use is certainly not commercial in nature. And that I don't think that he's violated the code here.
Yes, this would be similar to a school bus, right? So if somebody decided to make a school bus their recreation vehicle, right?
Yeah, and I guess would that be allowed is the question.
I think so.
Well,
That I'd probably draw the line. Some of these things become pretty ridiculous, like the example of a tractor trailer or a school bus. I think the use is kind of the driving factor here, but that's my opinion in this case in particular.
I agree to some extent with Mr. Maleka in that, and frankly, just because either I watch or my fiance watches too much HGTV, but they repurpose those types of vehicles all the time for personal type use, and they take them down to the bones and rebuild them into that personal type use. So just FYI.
and so you are agreeing that this is not a commercial vehicle? Mr. Weatherly? You went on mute. Or you fell off. Okay.
Having technical issues on and off.
Okay. So are we ready to have a finding of fact stating that this is not a commercial vehicle?
Yes.
Do we want to say
Yes.
Do we want to say anything different than that? That's fine.
You might want to explain why you think it's not a commercial vehicle, in case something like this comes up in the future.
Okay. Finding of fact, this is not a commercial vehicle because the vehicle has been repurposed and is being used for personal use as represented by the registration with the BMV.
As a passenger vehicle.
As a passenger vehicle. Okay.
I'll second.
I apologize. I had to reload. I got kicked out somehow, so I apologize. My
That's
internet's having slow issues.
We're actually about to vote on the finding of fact. Who's going to call the roll?
I will, Madam Chair. Mr. Welderly, do you want to recuse yourself for this one? I don't know if you were here for the beginning and then you cut out. Up to you.
Yes. No, yeah, I absolutely will recuse myself from the beginning, and I did cut out several times, so I apologize, everybody.
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes. Okay, it follows then that we will hold that there is no violation of the Columbus Code.
I'll second that.
Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes. Okay, Mr. and Mrs., I'm sorry, I did not catch your last name, but you can continue to park the vehicle behind the setback in your driveway.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, I think you need to vote to either uphold or it's the order. You have to either uphold the order or what's the other word, Jamie?
Sustain.
Like if they're overturn it, is that what they do? Because they're going to uphold the appeal. If they're right, they've agreed.
I thought we
The
voted
appeal was
to,
overturned. Yeah, they're overturning the appeal.
Okay.
no, we didn't overturn the appeal.
The appeal is what we're approving.
Right.
Right. Okay. The appeal is sustained.
Okay.
Well, the appeal is just the action. So what we did, we said there's no violation.
So rare that we do this part.
Yeah, that's why we're all kind of stumped.
Yeah, first time I've ever been part of it, that we actually
Right.
decided on the applicant.
Are we good, Tony?
Yeah. If I need to change it, I'll contact everyone and let you know what I had to do.
Okay, that's
I'm
fine.
not seeing Deanna, our city attorney, on here, so.
Yeah, I'm not either, which I'm surprised at.
But I think you've been very clear on your motion, so we can
Okay.
craft it later.
Okay. Okay, thank you. City and homeowners. Okay, we will move to our regular agenda, which is to hear requests for zoning variances. Jamie?
Yeah, Tony, have you made it to the office yet? Tony Celebrezzi? Okay, well, in that case, Madam Chair, we can go with our regular agenda. And the first is a presentation by Assistant Director Tony Celebrezzi.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Celebrezzi. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize for being late. I misjudged the buses today. I just wanted to let you all know and do a quick brief with the board with regards to virtual meetings and return to office and face-to-face meetings. The legislation that the state passed here back at the beginning of COVID that allowed and authorized boards like yourself to meet virtually, that law is going to expire here at the end of June. And currently there's been no effort or no extension of that deadline. And so boards and commissions in July will be meeting face-to-face in the hearing room as was prior to COVID. We are taking safety precautions. Our industrial hygienist is setting up protocols for us to follow. People will not have to wear masks if they choose to. That is prerogative. We will also have masks provided in the hearing room. We have maximum capacity of the hearing room, and I believe Jamie will be setting out the agendas in such a way that we will break them into sessions so that we can tell people who are later in the agenda that they don't need to show up during the first hour or so of the meeting basically to avoid having too many people in the room. The chairs are spaced out for social distancing, as are the microphone stations where the board members will be sitting. So all in the interest of safety at this point. So if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, Jamie, I'll get off the agenda and let you all back to what you need to do.
Tony, it's Bill Demora. I hope you're well. Is there any kind of mandate for being vaccinated, or are there going to be a vaccinated section and a non-vaccinated section, or what's the city doing about that?
The city has not enforced any type of guidelines with regards to whether you're vaccinated or not. Obviously, if you're not vaccinated, we encourage the mask wearing, but City Council repealed the mandatory face mask or masking ordinance and did not replace it with anything.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Celebrezzi, for the important announcement, and we will look forward to seeing everybody back in the Coleman Building in July.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have a good evening. Okay. Are we ready for item 1 of our agenda?
Actually, that was item 1, so we're ready for item number 2 on the agenda.
Oh, my fault. Okay, item number 2 on the agenda is 44 East Prescott Street. 44 East Prescott Street. Will the applicant unmute yourself, state your name for the record?
Yes, Chair, this is Dave Perry. I'm consulting on this application. Also on the meeting is Tom O'Brien, who is the managing member of the property owner and the LLC and also the developer. And Carrick Sherrill is the project architect.
Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Sherrill, are you there?
Yes, this is Mr. O'Brien.
Mr. Sherrill, are you
Yes,
there?
I'm also here.
Okay, can you all
Yep.
three raise your right hand? You swear that the testimony you get tonight be the truth, nothing but the truth, please state I do.
I do.
I do.
Perfect. Okay, we'll hear from the city first and then we'll come back to you, Mr. Perry.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. 42 through 44 East Prescott Street is located on the north side of Prescott Street, approximately 297 feet east of North 4th Street. The site is within the Italian Village Commission and is zoned R4 residential. The 0.23 plus or minus acre site is developed with a 2-dwelling unit currently. That dwelling is at the south end of the parcel. The surrounding area is developed with differing types of residential uses and variable parcel sizes, and is in an urban historic district. The applicant proposes to split the parcel to create a tax parcel that is 3,400 square feet plus or minus for the existing 2-dwelling unit building and build a new townhouse dwelling on the 6,683 square foot proposed parcel to the north. For purposes of this application, the proposed parcel with the existing 2-dwelling unit building area is going to be known as A, and the proposed parcel for the 2-dwelling unit building will be area B. The proposed variances are to reduce the lot width from 50 feet to 47 feet for lot A, reduce the area for lot A for a 2-dwelling unit building from 6,000 square feet to 3,400 square feet, and 4,360 square feet for one half of the East Prescott Street. Various variances being requested to increase the lot coverage from 50% to 52% for lot B, to permit the existing and proposed 2-dwelling units buildings on area A and B respectively to not front on a public street, as Prescott is technically an alley. Variance to reduce the area for lot A for the side yard from 9.6 feet to 5 feet on the south side yard, and with parking permitted in the north side yard, and to reduce the area for lot B from 16 feet to 10 feet. Variance to reduce lot area A, the minimum north side yard from 5 feet to 0 feet for a parked car, and to reduce the area for lot B, the minimum north and south side yards from 5.33 feet to 5 feet. And then finally, to reduce the rear yard from 25% to 20% for lot area B. The site is within the Italian Village Commission, therefore planning defers to them. The Division of Traffic Management states that the pedestrian connectivity will need to be provided between the proposed residential units and the existing sidewalk network along Prescott Street. The Italian Village has recommended approval. Therefore, staff can recommend approval as parcels with reduced side yards and rear yards, as well as increased lot coverage, are common in the dense urban Italian Village. We are not asking for any variances, and we'll turn it over to the applicant.
Yes, thank you, staff and members of the BZA. The project is as stated by staff. It is supported as stated with the variances and also architecture that Carrick Sherrill has run through the Italian Village Commission process, and the variances, both the land use as an additional 2-unit building, a lot split, an additional 2-unit building, and the variances are typical of the area. Any of the three of us would be happy to answer questions.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I'd like to know what the hardship is. So what hardship is this? We have to vote on these, that you want these variances.
I would say the hardship, Mr. Demora, is prevailing standard in the area. These variances are typical of the Italian Village Historic District and much of the Midtown area. There are many single-family, two-family, three-family, four-family, and other uses within Italian Village and in close proximity to this site. And there are numerous examples of lot width. The area was platted long before there was a lot width standard. There's numerous examples of coverage and other variances typical of what we have cited.
Yeah, but you only ask these variances because you're splitting the lot. I mean, so, I mean, if you're not splitting the lot, you don't need any variances, but you're splitting the lot. You want to create another lot knowing that you needed all these variances because of the width and length of it.
Yes, and I would say the existing lot is atypical of Italian Village, and the proposed split is very much in keeping with Italian Village, as found by the Italian Village Commission.
Well, I've been on public saying the Italian Village Commission is of no weight for me, so go ahead.
Well, I can, members of the board are happy to move on if there are other questions, but Mr. Demora, the Italian Village Commission process is often very challenging and rigorous.
Do we have any other questions? Is there anybody here tonight that wants to speak about this application? Okay, no one?
Madam Chair,
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted, just for the record, I did want to state that there were 2 letters of opposition submitted, one from Brandon Pruitt and the other one from Marie Cross. So I just want to get that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Welderly,
I need to abstain again. I apologize. I lost internet, but I am now on my phone, so I don't think we'll have that problem in the future.
okay. Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
No,
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
255 Lowell Road, 5 Lowell Road. Will the applicant please take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record?
Jamie, can you unmute call-in user number 8?
Hello,
Hello?
we are here, Gray and Carmen. We represent the customer.
Yeah, we're representing the customer. This is Higgs Home Improvements.
Okay, can you raise your right hand and testify that the truth and swear that the testimony you give tonight be the truth and nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from the city. We'll hear the city present the case first, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, 255 Lowell Road, located on the west side of Lowell Road, approximately 150 feet south of Roll Avenue, served by the Mideast Area Commission. It's zoned R4 residential. The site is developed with a single unit dwelling with an attached one-car garage. Surrounding uses are all single unit dwellings with attached one-car garages. The applicant proposes to convert the garage space into habitable space, thereby removing a required parking space. Variances are to reduce the parking setback from 25 feet to 20 feet and to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 2 to 1. C2P2 state that new housing should reflect the prevailing setback and spacing of nearby homes and that parking reductions may be considered based on the extent of the variance and the presence of on-street parking. Given that the setback is comparable to the housing in the area and the requested variance is one space, planning supports the request and building elevations which are consistent with C2P2 design guidelines. The Mid-East Area Commission recommended approval of the request, and staff can recommend approval. The proposal is consistent with C2P2 in that the setback is comparable to the housing in the area, and the requested variance is one space, and planning supports the request and submitted elevations. We recommend that the applicant commit to the stamped building elevations. Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Higgins,
Uh-huh.
do you have anything to add to the application?
No, it's just, I build a lot around Ohio. The thing that I have a question about is our setback. So usually, I mean, not in this deal here, because we're not adding anything as far as like we're building a room addition where we get into a zoning problem, you know, setback problem. This is an actual dwelling. So attached garage is considered part of the structure of the property. But here's the thing that I had a question about. When we go out to do our setback line, we always take the street, divide the street and find the center line. And then we go from the center line up. This is where our setback starts. The city of Columbus is where we had a situation where we didn't understand, is the city of Columbus is going from the property line up. This is the question that I had to ask, why we're doing it different in Columbus, which our company is in, than anybody else does it. That's what I want to know.
I mean, my gut would be you can't guarantee that the center line of the road is in the center line of the right of way.
But the streets, when the streets are built, of course, the streets have to go through zoning and everything, correct?
They just have to be within the right of way.
Okay. So when you take the street and you measure the street and then you find the center line of the street, then you go from the center line up, and that is your setback lines. Well, Columbus doesn't do that. Columbus goes from your property line up, and they say that this is their way of doing things in Columbus. Is this a natural thing that Columbus does? Because I've never ran into this. This is the first time I've ever. I mean, you know, I have to go through when I'm building a house, or I'm building a building, or I'm building a room addition on my setbacks. But I've never done that for turning a garage into a room that is. If I was doing a detached garage, then there would be a gray area that I think that had to be discussed. But when your dwelling is actually part of the base property, because the garage is attached, which is your main property. So this is what I got confused about. That's all.
Madam Chair, I don't think this is germane to what we have to discuss in our decision tonight. So I would.
Yeah, I would direct you to pose those questions directly to the city, sir. You can call them
No, ma'am, it was just something I wanted to ask. I didn't know,
Okay. Yeah, and I haven't heard the city provide any answers, so I guess they're gonna have to take that offline with you, sir.
Can I talk?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I want to talk about something that is remarkable. Great. That we are gonna do over there, convert the existing car garage, not going to change any essential from the neighborhood. We are not gonna change the using. Continue be a family. Also, we are not going to affect any services like water, sewer that we just writing. And nowadays, with the pandemic, that year, that the people needed to be really inside the home, the houses are very small, and give them the opportunity to stay, create a family room over there. I think that this is great because the spaces over there are very small. And nowadays, really, they are using like storage. They know no parking over there. Saying, are you like that? You consider that? And also, around, they are not the first people. The neighborhood is changing, and even the neighbor, the next close to them, made the same with one door, one window. I imagine because the people want to maybe guess have the opportunity to have another space. Saying, me, I would like that you consider that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Is there
Thank
anybody
you.
here? Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay, do we have any further questions for the applicant?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Weldley,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, your variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Thank
everybody.
you so much.
Have a good day.
You too.
Blessed day. Nice to meet you, Philip. Bye.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
really quickly, the property owner for case number 7, 1941 Stockwell Drive has just connected. They thought the applicant, who is a renter, was going to be the one presenting, but they're here to present or request a tabling because the applicant had not yet been through the area commission. When I went ahead and scheduled this, I was looking at another case that had been through the area commission. So, Winnie, I believe if you're able to hear us, please introduce yourself and state the reason why you're tabling.
Yeah, this is Winnie Mosenpour. We just don't have all the procedure in place. So the tenant, Sharon Pedron, who is the applicant, had requested for a postpone of this hearing till July 7th.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak about the request for tabling of this case? Do we have any questions from the board?
I'll move the table.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Weldley,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, your variance request has been tabled.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
you're welcome.
Bye.
3710 Mullane Court. Will the applicant take yourself off of mute and state your name for the record?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. My name is Kevin Stevenson.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? You promise that the testimony gets tonight with the truth, nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city first, and then we'll come back to you, Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 3710 Mullane Court is located at the southwest corner of Mullane Court and France Road, served by the Hayden Run Civic Association, and it's zoned Planned Unit Development 8. The quarter-acre corner lot is developed with a single-unit dwelling with attached two-car garage. Surrounding uses are all single-unit dwellings with attached two-car garages. The applicant proposes to convert the existing garage to habitable space, remove the existing driveway, and to construct a new driveway and attached two-car garage. The variance is to reduce the building line along Mullane Court from 25 feet to 15 feet. C2P2 recommend the use of high-quality building materials, design, and character that are appropriate based on the principal and nearby structures. C2P2 also recommend preservation of mature trees where possible. Staff are in support of the concept elevations and the revised driveway placement that preserves the mature tree and would ask that layout be pursued. Traffic management states that the orientation of the proposed driveway will need to be perpendicular to the curb line of Mullane Court and that it should avoid the existing tree. Hayden Run Civic Association recommended approval, and city departments also recommend approval. I'm going to amend my condition slightly here into the record. We recommend approval as the proposal is consistent with C2P2, which recommend high-quality building materials, design, and character that are appropriate based on the principal and nearby structures, and preservation of existing trees. So the applicant shall commit to the stamped concept elevations as the first condition, and the second is the applicant shall commit to the driveway design that is perpendicular to the curb line of Mullane Court at the right-of-way and that avoids the existing tree. So we won't be stamping the site plan, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Stevenson, do you agree with those conditions?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're willing to change the driveway?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Do you have anything else to add about this application?
No, I think that
Okay.
I covered it.
Are there others here that wish to speak about this application? Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I had a question on that. Isn't the garage over the building line? The new proposed? According to the survey? Isn't that the BL 15 feet off the easement?
So that would be the variance right here. If you see my cursor, this is the reduction in building line from 25 feet to 15 at the corner of the new garage.
Okay, so that whole corner edge is what you're at. That's the variances, one of the variances we're asking for. Okay,
correct.
I was confused. Sorry.
I'll call the question.
Okay, question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Welderly,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Okay, 1915 Galt Street. Will the applicant take yourself off mute and state your name for the record?
Good evening, Jordan Henderson.
Hello, Mr. Henderson. Raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city first, then we'll bring it back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. BZA 21-035 at 1915 Galt Street, located on the south side of Galt Street, approximately 198 feet east of South Nelson Road. This is within the Livingston Avenue Area Commission and zoned R2. The site is currently undeveloped, but was recently occupied by a single unit dwelling. Surrounding the site to the north, east, and west are single unit dwellings, and to the south are commercial and manufacturing uses along East Livingston Avenue. The applicant proposes a single unit dwelling on the parcel with a driveway along the western property line. A variance is necessary to allow parking and obstruction on the driveway in the western side yard. The majority of immediately adjacent dwellings share this feature. Planning is supportive of the request. The building elevations are consistent with C2P2 design guidelines. C2P2 also states that street trees should be provided as part of new development with guidance from the Recreation and Parks Department. Planning requests a street tree be planted along the Galt Street frontage in addition to the proposed rear yard tree. The applicant has added said tree to the site plan. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment regarding this application, and the Livingston Avenue Area Commission recommends approval of the request. City departments can also recommend approval of the variance to allow parking / obstruction of the western side yard, as the proposal is consistent with C2P2 design guidelines, and the majority of immediately adjacent dwellings share this feature. And we condition it on that street tree being added along Galt Street.
Which is already added, right?
Yeah, we're not committing them to the site plan. We're just going to commit them to the street tree, and they have agreed to it. So.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Henderson, for the record, you do agree with the tree being
Absolutely.
added? Okay. Do you have anything else to add about the application?
I don't. I think that that accurately captures it.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here that wishes to speak about this application? Okay, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Demora.
Yes.
Mr. Baldley.
Yes.
And Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, good luck with the project. Variance is granted.
Thank you.
And I have to go now, so somebody else is going to take over from here on out.
Mr. Jones, I believe you're the acting vice chair. Would you mind being the chair for the remainder of the meeting since Ms. Palmer is leaving us?
Happy to do it. Thanks, Eleanor.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor.
In person, Eleanor.
Thank you. All right. See you next month.
Yeah, thank you.
So, with that being said, I'd like to call case BZA 21-038, 1185 Metzel Drive. 1185 Metzel Drive. Would the applicant please unmute yourself and speak?
Good evening, everyone. Brian Zuniga here.
Okay, Brian. I don't think that Eleanor did a group swearing in, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Brian, would you please raise your right hand? And do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide this evening is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
Okay. We'll go to staff and then we will come to you.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Jones. 1185 Maysel Drive is located on the west side of Maysel Drive, approximately 185 feet south of Simpson Drive. The site is zoned R2 residential and is within the Mid-East Area Commission. The site is developed with a single unit residential dwelling in a residential neighborhood. The applicant proposes to construct a lean-to carport in the required side yard and requests variances to reduce the total required side yards from 12 feet to 8 feet and to reduce the southern minimum side yards from 5 feet to 2 feet. The Columbus Citywide Planning Policy, C2P2, states that the designs of additions and garages should be appropriate based on the principal and nearby structures in terms of height, width, setback, etc. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments on this proposal, and the Mid-East Area Commission recommends approval. City staff can recommend approval as the proposed carport is consistent with the existing home and nearby homes and is therefore supported by C2P2, and we're not asking for any conditions. And with that, we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Jamie. And forgive me, I'm calling you Brian because I don't want to mess up your last name, so
It's okay.
no disrespect. Brian, the city staff has recommended approval with no conditions. Do you have any additional information that you'd like to add about the project?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that. Is there anybody on the call that would like to speak for or against the proposed project? Seeing and hearing none. Any questions from our BZA group?
I'll call the question.
The question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Weldley,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes, your variance is granted and your project approved. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we'll move to BZA 21-040. Again,
That was,
BZA.
Mr. Jones, that
I'm
was the
sorry.
case that was just tabled. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
BZA case BZA 21-042 for 63 East Russell. Would the applicant please unmute yourself and speak up?
Yes, this is Rick Sicker with RAS Civil Engineering. I'm the agent for the applicant.
Okay, are you going to be the only one speaking?
That's correct.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you. And who at city staff is going to handle this for us?
That would be me. Thank you, Chair Jones. 63 East Russell Street is located at the southwest corner of East Russell Street and Kerr Street, served by the Italian Village Commission, and it's zoned R4 residential. The corner lot is developed with 2 duplexes, and the rear yard is all open space. There is some on-street parking along East Russell Street and Eden Alley. Surrounding uses include 2-unit dwellings to the west and north, single-unit dwellings to the north and east, Interstate 670 to the south. The applicant proposes to construct 8 parking spaces to be accessed from the alley at the rear. Variances are to reduce the east side parking lot screening width and height, and to reduce the west side screening height to allow the western screening to not be uniform in height and opacity, and to reduce the minimum parking setback from 10 feet to 3.5. There's no council adopted plan for the area as it's served by Italian Village Architectural Review. And Italian Village has issued a certificate of appropriateness recommending approval of the requested variances. Staff recommend approval. Given the constraints of the site, the proposal adequately meets the intents of the parking setback and screening of parking lots against nearby residential district. Additionally, the essential character of the neighborhood would not be altered as it is located in the rear. Chair Jones.
Thank you very much, Phil. So, Mr. Sicker, you have the recommendation of approval from the city staff. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add for the project?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone here on the call that would like to speak in favor or against the proposal? Seeing and hearing none, is there anyone from the BZA board that would like to speak or have any questions?
Mr. Jones, as someone used to live next door to that property, I think it's great that he's adding these parking spots because that street never has any parking on it. It's become more and more congested, and it does abut, the parking abuts basically an alley that's right up next to the freeway. So I think this is a great thing he's doing right here.
Thank you for your resounding support, Mr. Demora. And would you like to call the question?
I'll call the question.
The question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Weldley,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes, your variances are granted. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next case is BZA 21-043. for 1288 Medford Road. Would you please, if you're the applicant, unmute yourself and speak up?
Good evening. This is Robert Goldstein. I'm the attorney for Benjamin Weinschneider, who is also here on the call.
Okay, and is he planning to testify?
He can if necessary. Yes, he should be.
Okay. And you've confirmed that he's here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Would you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. We'll turn it over to city staff for the presentation, then we'll come back to you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Jones. 1288 Medford Road is located on the east side of Medford Road, approximately 230 feet north of Brookwood Road. The site is zoned R3 residential and is within the Mid-East Area Commission. The site is developed with a single unit residential dwelling in a residential neighborhood. The applicant proposes to convert an existing attached garage into living space and to displace the provided parking on the driveway. The applicant requests a variance to reduce the parking setback line for the parking from 25 feet to 22 feet. Columbus Citywide planning policies recommend the design and character should be appropriate based on the principal and nearby structures. Additionally, C2P2 recommends that front facades provide aesthetic appeal through the appropriate use and placement of doors and windows, as well as encourages front porches. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments on this proposal, and the Mid-East Area Commission recommends approval. City staff can recommend approval as the received elevations are consistent with C2P2 design guidelines, and the parking setback reduction is minimal. We're not asking for any conditions, and we'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Jones, Chairman Jones.
Thank you very much. Mr. Goldstein and Mr. Weinschneider, you've received a recommendation of approval from the city staff. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
Nothing needs to be added unless anybody has any questions.
Great. Thank you. Is there anyone on the call that would like to speak in favor or against this project? Seeing and hearing none. Any questions from our BZA board members?
I'll call the question.
The question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Welderly,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes, your variances are granted. Thank you for joining this evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next case is BZA 21-044, 23 Arden Road. Would the applicant please unmute yourself and speak up?
This is Brenda Parker, the architect.
Thank you, Brenda. Is anybody joining you?
I believe the owner, Bonnie Smelzer.
Yes, I'm here as well.
Okay. Thank you. Would you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
I do.
Great. Thank you. We'll turn it over to city staff and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. So BZA 21-044 at 23 Arden Road, located on the south side of Arden Road, approximately 170 feet east of North High Street. This is within the Clintonville Area Commission and zoned R3. The site is developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding the site are single unit dwellings, as well as some professional offices to the west along North High Street. The applicant proposes to construct a 76 square foot addition on the west side of the building or dwelling to accommodate an elevator and powder room. A variance is being requested to reduce the required side yard along the western alley from 5 feet to 4.25 feet to accommodate the addition. Planning supports this request. The Clintonville area plan states that new housing, garages, and additions should be compatible and similar in character to existing nearby home designs. And measured in terms of similar height and width, staff suggests that the proposed addition include similar elements which are found on the remaining chimney, such that the appearance of a similar crown and flue to create a compatible and similar character. Additionally, staff suggests that the proposed hardy shingle siding be of a darker color to be compatible with the existing structure. The Division of Traffic Management had no comment regarding this application, and the Clintonville Area Commission recommended approval of this request. Staff can also recommend approval of the reduced side yard setback for the addition of a for the addition to the single unit dwelling, as it will be consistent with the recommendations of the Clintonville area plan, and there are no conditions. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michael. So the suggestions are not conditions, they're just friendly suggestions?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much. So Ms. Parker and Ms. Smelzer, you have recommendation from the city for approval. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
No, I think just to understand the intent of the project, the owner requires an elevator for accessibility. And with this being a brick colonial, the positioning of the elevator to make it to the third floor properly and have the right head clearances, it has to be centered on the house, which pushes the proposed powder room addition over the setback by 1 square feet. So it's a tiny ask, but that's why we can't just slide it over, is because the elevator has to be positioned centered on the house.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the call that would like to speak in favor or against the project? Seeing and hearing none, anything from the BZA board that you'd like to ask? Great.
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Waldeley?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. Your variances are granted. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Parker and Ms. Smelzer.
Thank you.
Next case is postponed. On to case 12, BZA 21-046 for 766 Grove Street. Would the applicant please unmute yourself and speak up?
Yes, sir. This is Dave Carey. I'm consulting on this application. Also on the call is Sarah Macker, who is the project architect.
Thank you very much. Would you both please raise your right hands? Is Sarah there? Oh, she's there. Yes? Okay, thank you, Sarah. Would you please, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
I do.
Very good, thank you. And we'll turn it over to city staff for their presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. 766 Grove Street is located on the north side of Grove Street, approximately 90 feet east of Hamilton Avenue. The site is zoned R2F and is within the Near East Area Commission. The subject site currently consists of 2 parcels. The first, PID 010-003-486, is developed with a single unit residential dwelling, and the second, PID 010-057-408, is vacant. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing dwelling, combine the 2 lots, and construct a 2-unit dwelling and request variances to reduce the lot width from 50 feet to 44 feet, to reduce the lot area from 6,000 square feet to 2,710 square feet, to increase the lot coverage from 50% to 52%, to reduce the west side yard from 5.09 feet to 5 feet, to reduce the rear yard from 25% to 5%, and to reduce the number of off-street parking spaces from 4 to 0. Planning had initially submitted comments that they support the proposal but recommended differentiating materials, and that the applicant explore the use of higher quality materials, but they have since retracted that statement. The Division of Traffic Management states that the proposed new building construction sidewalk will need to be provided along the Grove Street frontage of the site, and the Near East Area Commission recommends approval of this request. City staff notes that the existing contributing building will be replaced and is supportive of the demolition, as the building appears to be beyond repair. And with that, we will, and we're not asking for any conditions, so with that, we'll turn it back over to you, Chairman Jones.
Thank you very much, Jamie. So it looks like you have the recommendation of approval from the city staff and obviously the Near East Area Commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to provide as comments or anything?
Nothing additional that we need to add. These are two very shallow lots. I'll just say the existing dwelling has been removed, raised, and there is no net density effect with this project with a 2-unit building with 2 lots that formerly had single-family dwellings, and it was very much supported by the Near East Area Commission.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know why Stelzer's up on the screen right now. Is that something else that we need to just getting us ahead of the game? Okay. Very good. Is there anyone here on the call that would like to speak for or against the project? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody on the BZA board that has questions or comments?
I'll call the question.
The question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Walderly,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Malaka,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes, your variances are granted. Thank you very much for another one.
Very good.
And
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next case, BZA 21-047, 2600 Stelzer Road. Would the applicant please unmute yourself? And there you are. State your name, please.
I'm Jeffrey L. Brown, attorney for the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I
If
do.
so, I do. Great. Thank you very much. And for city staff, who's on this one?
That'll be me. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. 2600 Seltzer Road is located at the northeast corner of Seltzer Road and Codette Road. It is within the Northeast Area Commission and in the zoned limited apartment residential district. The 26.88 acre site consists of 12 undeveloped parcels, and surrounding the site are single unit and multi-unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to construct a multi-unit development with detached garages, and a variance is requested to increase the height of the detached garages from 15 to 16 feet. The planning division is supportive of the proposal, as the Northeast Area Plan states that garages should not be the dominant feature. And the proposed site plan achieves this. And the Division of Traffic Management had no comments, and the Northeast Area Commission recommends approval of this request. Staff finds this request consistent with the Northeast Area Plan and can recommend approval based on the condition that the applicant commit to the stamped elevations. I can turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you very much, Sierra. So, Mr. Brown, there's a recommendation that if this is approved, that the elevations be stamped for consistency. Are
We
you
accept
okay with
that
that?
recommendation.
Okay, great. So you have the recommendation from the city and obviously the Northeast Area Commission for approval. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
Not really, unless the board has any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. I think it's pretty straightforward what the request is.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone on the call that would like to speak for or against this project? Seeing and hearing none, are there any questions from the BZA board?
I'll call the question.
The question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Walderly,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. The variances are granted
Thank you.
with the condition. Next case, BZA 21-048 for 2337 North Cassidy Avenue. And it looks like you're up again, Mr. Brown. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do. I'm Jeffrey L. Brown, attorney for the applicant.
Thank you very much. And Sierra, are you handling this one as well, or who's on staff for this one? Okay.
And just FYI, this is the same as the previous one, just a different property, so I will try to be brief. 2330 North Cassidy Avenue is located on the west side of North Cassidy Avenue, approximately 600 feet from Agler Road. It is also within the Northeast Area Commission, and it is also zoned limited apartment residential. The 11.46 acre site consists of 2 undeveloped parcels, and the surrounding the site is a religious facility to the east and multi and single unit dwellings. Again, the applicant is proposing to construct a multi-unit development with detached garages and a variance request to increase the detached garage height from 15 to 16 feet. Planning Division, again, is supportive of this request for the same reason listed in the summary, as well as the Northeast Area Commission also recommended approval, and staff recommends approval of the request as well, with the condition that the applicant commit to the stamped elevation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra. So the condition is the same, Mr. Brown. Are you still willing to have that on this proposal?
Yes, sir. We agree to the condition.
Okay, great. Is there anyone on the call that would like to speak for or against this project? Seeing and hearing none. Any questions from the BZA board?
I'll call the
Hearing
question.
none. Okay, thank you, Eric. Question's been called with the condition as presented. Please call the roll.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Webley,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes, variances are granted. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You as well. Next case is BZA 21-051, 4383 Melroy Avenue. Would the applicant please unmute yourself and speak up?
Yes, this is David Riggs.
Okay, Mr. Riggs, are you the only one that's going to be speaking on behalf of your proposal?
Yes.
Okay, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. We'll turn it over to city staff and then come back to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 4383 Melroy Avenue is located on the south side of Melroy Avenue, approximately 30 feet east of Dutton Place, served by the Mid-East Area Commission, and it's zoned R4 residential. The site is developed with a single unit dwelling with an attached 1-car garage. The applicant expanded the driveway with gravel about 15 years ago without zoning clearance and received a zoning code violation notice in March 2021. Surrounding uses include single unit dwellings to the west, north, and south, and apartments to the north and east. The applicant proposes to legitimize and pave the expanded driveway with a hard surface for 1 additional parking space. The variance is to reduce the parking setback from 25 feet to 0. The Livingston East Area Plan recommends using pervious surfaces to minimize stormwater runoff and increase infiltration. Therefore, Planning Division staff continue to encourage the use of permeable pavers for the additional parking space, but will not condition support on the revision. No comments from traffic, and the Mid-East Area Commission recommended approval of the request. Staff recommend disapproval. The parking setback line establishes how close parking and maneuvering may be located to a street in order to promote safety and preserve neighborhood character. Staff have consistently recommended disapproval to requests that would allow parking in the front yard. If the board were to approve the request, I would recommend stamping the site plan, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Phil. So, Mr. Riggs, you have the recommendation of disapproval from the City of Columbus. So I assume that you might have something that you might want to add to the request.
Yes. The reason I'm wanting to do this all these years ago was it started out because I had a vehicle that had only liability insurance on it. And with the parking out here between the apartments, they only allow 1 vehicle. And I know people in that parking in the apartments next door that has as many as 3. So that puts 2 of them on the street. The neighbors directly across from me where the concrete pad's going to be, as of right now, they have 4 cars on the street and 2 in the driveway. So when I get all the overflow from the Melroy apartments, they wind up in front of my house. And then the neighbors on the other side of me with all these other vehicles. There's really nowhere for me to go out here. Plus, it also adds to traffic as far as once all these cars get lined up, it turns into a one-lane road from basically Hamilton Road all the way down here, almost Astor. So that's why, and I've also had my truck broke into in my own driveway. I have since put in a security system about a year or so ago so I can protect my property here, including my vehicle, and I have not had any further incidents since I started doing that. And they added the cameras.
Okay. Is that all?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, for safety reasons is one reason I'm putting it up here for security, and also trying to lighten up the problem that's already out here on the street.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
Is there
welcome.
anyone on the call that would like to speak for or against this project or proposal?
Traffic, not necessarily,
Go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry.
not necessarily for or against, but I don't think our, I guess, specific comment made the agenda. But if this is approved, just a revision to the plan will be needed. So there's a taper back to the existing drive apron. So we just want that notified to the applicant, so it's not just flat with the sidewalk. We can answer that question when he applies for that permit, but just want to give that out for informational purposes.
Yes, thank you very much. Is there anyone else to speak in favor or against this project? Any questions or comments from BZA board members? Okay. Everybody going to call the question?
I'll call the
Somebody has to
question.
call the question.
I'll
Okay,
call
thank
the
you.
question.
The question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Demora,
No.
Mr. Maleka,
No.
Mr. Waldley,
No.
Chairman Jones.
No. And Mr. Riggs, I'll tell you that the primary reason is not that we don't want to provide an accommodation for you. It's just what we would have to do to make this accommodation sets a precedent that we have consistently said no to other people that are asking or requesting the same thing. So unfortunately, we do have to decline your request and tell you that the variance is disapproved.
So
So sorry.
Nothing further I can do with this problem I have here with my vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, we don't have any immediate suggestions right now. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Final case, BZA 21-055.
Trying to get out of this.
367 and 371 East Hudson Street. Would the applicant please unmute yourself and speak up?
Hi, this is Dave Kerr from DK Architects.
Hello, Mr. Say it again.
It's Kerr, K-E-R-R.
Okay, Mr. Kerr. Have you not been sworn yet, right?
I have not.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
Very good. And we will have city staff make their presentation and we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. This is BZA 21-055 at 367 to 371 East Hudson Street, located on the south side of East Hudson Avenue or street. Looks like street. Approximately 175 feet west of Summit Street. This is within the University Area Commission and zoned C4 commercial. The 0.14 acre site is developed with a vacant 3,100 square foot commercial building within the University District zoning overlay. The UDZA grants a 50% parking reduction to all non-residential uses. Surrounding the site are single and 2-unit dwellings in the R2F and R3 residential districts to the north and south, 2-unit dwellings in the C4 commercial district to the west, and commercial uses in the C4 commercial district along Summit Street to the east. The applicant proposes to convert the existing commercial building to a nightclub. A 650 square foot addition to the rear of the building is planned with a 650 square foot rooftop patio above. The remaining area of the site will be converted into 4,080 square feet of patio grass area, which will include bocce ball courts and a stage. A variance is requested to reduce the minimum number of parking spaces from 41 to 0. Planning supports the proposal. The University District Plan recommends that parking variances to facilitate the reuse of an existing historic storefront should be reviewed with consideration of a number of factors. To that end, staff encourages the applicant to explore opportunities for shared parking nearby, as well as additional bike parking on site in excess of code requirements to reduce parking impacts on nearby residential uses. Additionally, the plan calls for the rehabilitation of contributing buildings and that new development be compatible with the neighborhoods. As such, staff requests additional information regarding the screening of the site from residential areas to the west and south. After receiving additional information on screening and confirmation that there will be a parking agreement and additional bicycle parking in excess of code requirements, planning is in full support of this proposal. And I should have mentioned at the beginning of this in your supplemental packet, in the updated staff report was the parking agreement for shared parking nearby, a slightly revised site plan, nothing major, did include additional bike parking and an updated statement in support of variances. The University Area Commission, or no, a parking study will be required by the Division of Parking Services in conjunction with this application. That was traffic's comment. The Division of Parking Services reviewed that parking study earlier this week. And based on the current available parking in the area, we're supportive of the approval of the requested variance. The study showed that while certain streets face significant parking pressures and persistently high occupancies, there is overall sufficient parking capacity in the area to accommodate the future demand that this site may generate. The University Area Commission also recommended approval of this application. Staff can recommend approval of converting the existing space into a nightclub / eating and drinking establishment with patio. The applicant has mitigated the parking reduction with improvements to bicycle facilities and through a shared parking agreement for 28 spaces on a nearby property as recommended by the University District Plan and Planning Division. Additionally, the Division of Parking Services has reviewed the parking study and found overall sufficient parking capacity in the area to accommodate the site. We recommend as a condition that the site plan seen before you be stamped. And in addition to the supplemental packet information provided earlier, there was also a letter of opposition, and I do see that someone is here to speak on that as well. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Michael. So, Mr. Kerr, the conditions are that the site shall be developed in general conformance with the stamped site plan. Any slight adjustments shall be reviewed and may be approved by the Director of Department of Building and Zoning Services or their designee. Are you willing to accept that condition if this is approved?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you have the recommendation of city staff now for approval, and the University Area Commission recommends approval of the project. Do you have anything additional that you'd need to add or like to add?
I just want to bring up a couple of points that have come up at the previous meetings and discussions about the project, just to make sure that I am giving you that information in case it comes up here as well. I want to emphasize that the property contains the remains of a historic building significant to the local community. And in order to renovate the structure, significant investment is required due to the current condition of the building. To compensate for that initial investment, it's necessary for the entire property to develop with the revenue generating program, reducing the number of on-site parking spaces to 0. I bring this up because the question comes up that, well, in the current condition of the property is you could fit some parking on the back of the property where we're putting a patio, But the problem is that in order to restore this historic building and make it usable, whether it's for a nightclub use or for an office use or for whatever, there's a significant investment that's going to be required to do that, that would require to develop the entire site. I also wanted to mention, let me see, we talked about the spaces on the nearby adjacent site that we have an agreement for. We did a parking study, and on a Saturday evening, there were 129 available street spaces available based on the parking study. That would be the most use, a Saturday night would be the most use that we would have, for a nightclub. So taking 41 of those 129 spaces, it shows that there's still availability, and it fits within the 60 to 80% target ratio that the Division of Parking recommends. And then, and then finally, another question that has come up in the past is that, how many spaces would actually fit on this site to begin with? And when if you were to tear down the existing building and put spaces on this particular property, meeting the requirements of the city of Columbus, you would only be able to fit 20 parking spaces on the site to begin with. So I just wanted to bring those points up. Those are questions that came up in the past, and I just want to make sure that I brought those up here in case they came up again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kerr. Is there anyone that's on the call that would like to speak for or against this project?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I have Joanne Freeheight.
Chris and Joanne Freiheit, yes.
Okay. Would you please both raise your hands, right hands? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, and just to be clear, each one of you will have 3 minutes to speak, and it will be on a timer.
There's
Please
only
go
one.
ahead.
There's only one person speaking.
Okay.
My name is Chris Freiheit. My wife and I own 8 units apartment directly behind this proposed development. And I'm just here to try and protect the safety and the quiet enjoyment of my tenants that do have ample parking for our project. And we all know that bar patrons want to park as close to the bar as they can. So I see my lot as being in conflict. I actually support the development of this property. I'm not opposed to the bar restaurant use. I am opposed to developers that say the only way I can develop my property is to cover every square inch and shovel my parking off onto the neighbors. I mean, if we all could do that, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing? I know and if you want to take the measurements of this lot, I disagree with the fact that you couldn't get 41 spaces on there. You could. I've built parking lots. I know you could. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying to go from 41 to 0 so you can have a huge patio with live music. I'm not opposing that either, but although the music stage is going to be about 30 feet from my tenant's windows, that could be another issue. But I think that if there was a little bit of parking in the rear of this and the patio were not quite so large, that it would provide a buffer. It would provide some parking, at least for some people, to attend this. Again, I don't oppose the nightclub use. I just oppose the fact that somebody wants to cover every square inch for their own benefit and put the parking issue on the neighbors. And I've developed properties and I know what it's like. It's not an all or nothing thing. I think this could be done in a way that works for both parties. I don't strictly oppose this use. I just think that it's a little bit inappropriate to cover every square inch of your property for commercial gain and not expect to provide some parking. The parking off-site that they've negotiated, that's fine, but it's phantom parking. People do not find that. Some might not, but they're going to drive around this thing and park as close as they can. The study that was done, I appreciate that, but it was done in the off season of OSU students, and I don't think it's very relative that there was plenty of spaces on a Saturday night when everybody's out of town for the summer. So there's a little bit of question on that. Again, I would like to support the project. I don't want to be a downer on it, but I think that there's a give and take as far as providing some parking for your facility and not just building a huge patio with, I didn't mention the live music, which could be an issue down the road, but I'm not opposed to that per se. I think a little parking lot in the back, I didn't see anything about dumpsters either. I hope my dumpster isn't being cited as another benefit. But we'll address that at another point. Again, thank you for the time. I don't totally oppose it, but I think there is a way that it could be done more appropriately.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the call that would like to speak for or against this proposal?
Yes, please.
I just do have one question. I know I said we'd have one speaker, but my understanding is the parking arrangement is what we call basically phantom, right? There's no relationship between the building itself and that parking. So that parking arrangement could go away at any time. Yet that zoning variance lives into perpetuity.
That's correct.
And that's another concern that we would just like to make sure is understood.
Yes.
I'll add a clarification that I did discuss that with the Division of Parking Services, and they do not take that into account whenever they make their recommendation because, as you all know, these things are not forever standing. So that is their viewpoint.
41 to 0 is what they're basically asking for with no additional.
That is correct, and that is what
I think
Division of Parking Services made their recommendation on as well. So just so everybody knows.
I just think 41 to 0 is a bit excessive. That's all.
Thank you very much.
One last question. Is there any arrangement for ADA parking at all? So just no parking whatsoever, even for disabilities?
What we'll do is we'll have the applicant answer that after I bring him back on. Is there any other question that you have?
A dumpster. I would like to know if they're going to have their own dumpster or if I'm going to be hit up on that as well. I have a 4-yard dumpster.
You'll be hit up on that? Okay. Any other questions?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There was another person that wanted to speak. Mr. Morrison,
Yes, sir.
please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
I live directly across the street from the old theater, and we are thrilled someone is finally going to do some development. We've looked forward to this for a long time. We have concerns, though, on where their customers will park. If they can actually have 100 to 150 customers attend their nightclub on weekends or to watch the bands or to come to the dance parties, we really don't know where you're going to put them. And while they may have done one study, if you're here on a football Saturday or you're here when students are back in session at Ohio State, I find it hard to believe you can find 129 open parking spaces. And I own 2 properties, the corner of Glen Echo and Hudson Street. So I'm right across the street. I'm constantly towing people now from my rental property that sits on the corner of Glen Echo and Hudson. And I also have people that park behind my private residence. So while we're thrilled to see something happen, we do have some concerns. And so we hope that they'll be able to work those out. I have concerns about the sounds too that will be coming until 1 or 2 in the morning from a nightclub venue and directly across the street from a residential area. While we're very happy to see the property get developed, it needs to be done. Something needs to happen to that building. We agree. I've been here 40 years. But we're not sure that this is the appropriate use and that parking won't be a problem. And there isn't going to be an issue with people trying to cross Hudson Street after they've come out from a night of partying, coming across Hudson Street, going back to their cars. Disposing of trash in our yards is a concern. And I also, my one question is, will the bus stop still remain in front of that building? It's an important stop for those who use the buses in this area that really need that bus stop. And we support the development of the property. So I'm not opposed to that. We just have lots of concerns. So, and I am done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morrison. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this project or proposal? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Pear, we'll give you 5 minutes to rebut or answer some questions. Obviously, the two that came up previously were dumpster and ADA. I don't know if that's access, and Mr. Morrison had several questions, which hopefully you took note of. I'll start by saying, you know, oftentimes what we recommend at the city is a good neighbor agreement. I don't know if you all have an organized group in your neighborhood that could help establish something like that with the property owner. Those have become very effective in terms of trash in yards, things that patrons from, you know, the establishment might be causing in terms of harm or detriment to your neighborhood. Those things work out very well. While they're not enforceable, they're a show of good faith, and they certainly bring parties together. So I might encourage that you guys consider that. That being said, Mr. Kerr, it's on you. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to answer the first couple of questions, and then Bobby Miller, who is the business owner. I don't know if you're on this call right now or not, but if you wanted to speak to some of this, I'd like to open it up to you. But just to take 1 minute to answer the previous questions, the bus stop will remain. That's not going anywhere. The business owner is working on a shared trash agreement with a neighboring property owner. I'd also like to mention regarding trash itself, that it came up at the University Area Commission meeting that there's a group within the neighborhood that actually goes around picking up trash. And that group is actually very supportive of this because they spend a lot of time picking up trash on this site, which isn't currently not taken care of. So I just wanted to mention that about trash. And then as far as ADA goes and accessibility, the site will be accessible from a pedestrian standpoint. And like many urban properties that don't have on-site parking, it will be treated just like that, where there are some on-street accessible parking nearby, and that will serve that use.
Okay, did you want to see if your partner was here?
Yeah, Bobby Miller, are you on the call?
Not seeing them.
That's fine. I just wanted to open it up to him. Bobby is the owner of the business, and he is a local resident that actually lives several blocks from the property. He knows a lot of the residents in the community. He has spoken to many of the residents in the community. And while I appreciate the folks that are speaking up tonight and voicing their concerns, I think we want to hear people's concerns about it so that we can make sure that they're addressed either today or down the road. Overwhelmingly, speaking person to person throughout the neighborhood, there's been a lot of support.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kerr. Are there any questions from the BZA board? Questions or comments?
Yeah, I've got.
Go ahead,
I've got a couple, and I apologize. I had to switch from my computer to my phone, so I realized my face is a lot bigger than it should be. Anyway, so in the last statement you made, you said that you are working for agreements with trash with your neighbors, but you don't have that agreement set in stone yet. I understand it's not in our purview per se, but you also said that you have a volunteer group that is going to pick up trash. Can you explain?
No. I'm sorry if that came across wrong. There currently is a neighborhood volunteer group that picks up trash throughout the neighborhood. And that group supported this project because they spend a great deal of time picking up trash on this particular site.
But they will, so let's assume you're a nightclub, you're a bar, and you are now generating a lot of garbage. You've got an agreement with them, they'll take it all?
No. I'm sorry. I must be misspeaking on this. The owner of the business is working on a shared trash agreement with another neighboring commercial property owner that has a dumpster.
But that hasn't happened yet.
That has not happened yet. And,
That was my
and
question.
I suppose, doesn't have to do with this particular parking variance, but surely we still have to meet the city's codes, in terms of trash removal and those requirements.
So my second question, and going away from the kind of trash situation, is you did state that in order for this property to be economic, you had to capitalize essentially off of the entire property, which is why you're going into the back and creating the patio, et cetera. Is that correct?
Yes.
So from the economics of that, obviously we live in Ohio and you're only getting, 5-6 months at best patio weather. I'm losing, I guess, and I don't know the economics, you know the economics, but I'm losing the economics of why we're taking away parking for a patio and not a covered facility. And obviously, again, not our purview. So, but I'm trying to figure out how I create a parking situation that runs with the land when we live, again, in Columbus, Ohio, and this is where we're at. So,
well, I think the patio will get use 6 to 8 months of the year, 6 months of the year for sure. As I mentioned earlier, the structure that is there needs a tremendous amount of work. It probably could be torn down and you could build something there cheaper, but we're trying to save that structure and work with it. And there's going to be an additional investment that's required in order to do that. And in order to meet that additional investment, we need to make sure that the site is programmed in such a way that can bring that revenue in. And so the patio, yes, you might be correct. It might be 6 months of the year, but it's a necessary component to the business.
thank you. I appreciate that.
So again, like I asked the first applicant tonight, the only hardship here, you want this variance because you want to maximize your profits. That's not a hardship as far as I'm concerned for us to give you a variance of 41 spots to the property. And I don't believe at all in parking agreements, especially if ownership changes, if one of the two businesses. You're just trying to maximize everything you can get out of this, but you want us to give you a variance to this land, and there's no way I'm supporting this.
Any other questions from BZA board members?
Yeah, did I hear where this shared parking agreement, where that parking is in relationship to this building?
It is the lot behind Evolved, and it is a block and a half away.
And we expect people are going to park a block and a half away. That's ridiculous too.
The staff of the nightclub would park there.
I would just add one thing. Obviously, parking is important, and we all feel pretty passionate about it, especially where it's a challenge. Traffic management, or the Division of Parking Services, did recommend approval, not considering the off-site parking. Is that correct, Michael?
That is correct.
Okay. I just want us to be clear on that. And if there are no other questions.
Just one more. Again, staff is recommending disapproval. Is that correct?
No, there was
recommending approval.
Okay, I'm looking at the text, and that's why I wanted to confirm in the text that it says disapproval.
There was an updated staff report today.
Okay. And again, reason why that changed, was that because of the traffic study and the parking study that came through?
Yeah, they wanted to rush this one through, so it got scheduled before the parking study was completed. That study has since been completed. They've addressed planning comments, and planning and parking are now in approval.
So Michael, I want to confirm that this parking study was done as one of the neighbors said during this particular time and not when there's a full student body at Ohio State, which completely changes parking situations. I mean, there's no way if someone had been around that area a long time, that there's that many open spots when there's stuff going on at Ohio State's campus. I just don't believe that. I don't think anybody can ever convince me of that.
The Division of Parking Services allowed it to happen over the past week. If you
Yeah, and they allow
like to-
parking in the short north and it's all works out. So there's no way I'm giving any weight to that either.
Well, look, we went through the whole process. We went through site compliance. They gave us 2 rounds of comments back. We addressed them all to their satisfaction. We went in front of the University Area Commission. They asked many questions at their zoning committee meeting. We addressed those questions, got their approval and recommendation. Then we went in front of the University Area Commission board. Many more questions were asked there, which were addressed, and we got their approval. Parking had questions. We went out and we did a parking study. It was not done during prime OSU school. We wouldn't have been able to do that until the fall. We couldn't have even done that this spring if we wanted to because of COVID. We tried to address. We know that there are concerns from some neighbors, but we've also gotten a lot of really good feedback from others. We've tried to go through the process and address everybody's concerns. We have found that the parking ratios fall right into what the requirements would be that the Division of Parking has. They want the parking ratio to be between 60 and 80%, and we fit right in the middle of that. On a Saturday night, we're at 68%, and that's with the increase of our 41 spaces. So say our 41 cars were added to that, we're still within the 60 to 80% capacity for parking. So we've met all the requirements.
Thank you very much. Will someone call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
This is a tough one, guys. I'm saying yes, though. I'm going with city.
Mr. Baldley,
I agree with Mr. Maleka, but I'm going to go no. I think that the parking study should have been done when Ohio State was there. So we know that the amalgamation of parking exists, not when COVID was happening. So I'm a no.
Mr. DeMora,
I echo Mr. Welderly, no.
and Chairman Jones.
My vote is yes, but the variance is declined or disapproved for lack of a majority vote. My apologies for that. With that being said, obviously you can go back to staff if there's something additional that needs to be reconsidered, but this is the conclusion of our BZA meeting. Thank you very much.
We'll see you guys next week, next month in person. Be on the lookout for an invite. 111 North Front Street.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Unbelievable.
Thank you, everybody.
Phil, Sierra, Michael, please stay on.